So welcome everyone to this one-on-one conversation with Omoyele Sowore, the CEO of Sahara Reporters and former presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, the AAC. Mr. Sowore, welcome to Njenje Media TV. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for bringing me. Thank you.
Okay. So quickly, let's get the ball rolling. How has it been for you since the forceful relocation to Abuja, since, obviously since your arrest and the eventual granting of bail with the stringent conditions? You somehow been confined only in Abuja. How has it been since then?
It's two ways. One is to go historical. Apart from Obafemi Awolowo, who was restricted to Lekki, Lagos in 1963, in preparation for his treason trial, I'm the second only person that has been restricted to a city in Nigeria. But the other side is, the good news is that it's offered me an opportunity to organize in ways that I've never thought about doing before. I've never stayed in Abuja more than 7 days at a time. And I found out that restriction to Abuja has been very helpful to our movement, and have used that opportunity to familiarize myself with the city, the people, and the activist movement on ground. Like I said, hey, I've said it several times, Abuja is two ways. It's for the poor and the ultra-rich. Such that I call it the Federal Capital of Thieves, FCT.
Oh, yeah. The Federal Capital. Why some people say is the Federal Capital Territory, COW, Federal Capital Territory. But it's...
but I've seen more thieves in Abuja than I've seen cows.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were released on bail. Okay, and what is the true situation of your case today? I mean, without prejudice, without...
Yeah, that's important, but we don't know, because the judge who was initially handling my case, and I'm sorry, there's a blackout. I think the judge will go on soon, hopefully. So the judge who was initially handling our case, Justice Ijoma Ojukwu, has suddenly been transferred to Calabar. And we're hearing, but we've not been officially notified that at our next adjourned date, which is April 28th, they will start the case de novo, that is from the beginning.
Whoa.
So we haven't heard officially yet, but we know this is part of how they plan, because the agenda is not, there's no trial. We've said it several times, I've told many people. There's no offense, there's no case. But the cabal that is working with President Buhari, the money queen in Asurot, are hell-bent on ensuring that people like us don't participate in the next electoral cycle. But I'm not keen on participating. I have said it clearly since 2019 that Nigeria doesn't need an election, it needs a revolution. And I'm more committed to that revolution than an election that has been determined in advance. So we're here waiting to hear from the new judge or whomever is in charge. But also there is a judicial worker strike that's keeping anybody from even finding out what's next. So I'm not sure that April 28th we will have even a hearing, because the judicial strike that's been on now has disrupted significantly a lot of things.
Obviously you are in Abuja. Now, you
Yes.
do not have your kids, your wife, no family members there. So how do you cope and how do you survive?
I don't have my wife and kids, but I do have family here. And family is two ways for me. Family is those who believe in the movement and who are members of the movement. And of course, there's blood family. I have a lot of them around me. So I'm well supported. yes, of course, I miss my wife and I would miss my kids, and I wish they're here with me or I'm there with them in the US. But what I don't want to do, and I've avoided doing, is to allow collateral damage in all of this. The federal government, this criminal government in Nigeria, will be happy to find my wife or kids and kill them or do them harm. The same way also that they killed Segun Awolowo, who came to visit his father when he was undergoing treason trial in the 60s. So I opted not to let them partake in this process or help me carry my cross. I'll do it myself, and they're entitled to live their lives without cruelty, inhumanity, and wickedness.
Okay. If I piggyback a little bit,
yes,
during the time you were in prison, what
in
was
detention? I was not in prison. Yes, sorry, I was in
detention.
Jail.
Thanks for the correction. So during the time you were in detention, what was that detention facility you experienced like?
So I was in what is well known as solitary confinement. I was kept in a room 24 hours a day, and I was allowed to go out to pick food because I refused to eat their food at between 4 and 5 p.m. Sometimes they just cut it short by 20 minutes or 25 minutes. So I only get to spend 30 minutes with the food people. And then I come back. And that's where I am until 4 p.m. the next day. So I spent most of my time in solitary confinement at the headquarters of the DSS. My cell was located right on top of the office of the Director General of the DSS. That's the Directorate of State Security. Their real name is State Security Service, but they changed their name to DSS, which that's why we call them, also known as DSS, aka DSS. So I'm not allowed visitors. I'm not allowed to, they didn't allow me to watch TV for about 5 months. 4 months out of my 5 months there. And so we only went to court a few times, maybe 4 or 5 times. And I don't get to see sunshine. I don't, yes, they provided toilets separate from, I had toilet facilities, and I had a bed to sleep on, and I had water and light sometimes, or most of the time. Sorry, light just came back. But that's just to describe to you the human and degrading treatment to which I was subjected.
So, obviously the whole thing's been happening, and you were allowed to go out for some time and buy food for yourself. But
no, I wasn't allowed to go out and buy food. They allowed me to pick food from people who bring me food. I wasn't allowed to go out to buy food. No.
But aside the environment, was there any time any ill treatment meted to you?
When ill treatment are in two folds, either physical or psychological. Ill treatment, in fact, I was told that if you are in solitary confinement, it's worse than physical torture. Because any human being is not expected to survive in solitary confinement more than 24, 48 hours, after which you start to have psychological problems. But I spent 4 months of my time out of 5 months in solitary confinement.
So how did you cope? Were you, did you engage in meditation, exercising? What was it that you were doing to
I did physical exercise a lot because I'm a runner. So I tried to physically exercise. I read a little bit, books. At the point they started allowing me to get books. So I preferred books to food, so I would take books. But they bring food and books. But they have to check the books to be sure that it doesn't have a word revolution in it and it's not a radical. So, and then they'll approve of it. So I read a lot of books and physically exercised for maybe an hour. They had, at a point, a physical a machine in the place, but it broke down and they never fixed it. That was what's that machine you run on? I keep forgetting.
Treadmill.
I'm old.
A treadmill.
Treadmill, yeah. It had like a treadmill. The treadmill is like maybe 15 years old. I ran on it and the plank underneath the belt broke apart. And
just like everything.
They never fixed it. So yeah. So they had a treadmill that they let me use. And then when that broke, they said I could come to the official. After I was abducted from court, they said I could come to use their official gym to exercise, but I refused to that because I knew it was a plot to either have me injured or killed on my way there and back, because it was in a different building. I didn't go for that. But they keep telling me, oh, you're not the only one. Dasuki, who's here with us, uses that place. We'll close the place down for you and Dasuki to use, but I never did. I never did use their gym.
Their facility. Did you ever get
but
to
they
meet
offered
Dasuki?
it after I was abducted. Yeah.
Did you ever get to meet
Yes, I
Dasuki?
did. Yes, we spent a lot of time actually. I requested to meet him personally, and they kept denying me, and they said, there's no reason for you to meet. First, they said he wasn't there, that he's in a different facility. But some of the guys on the ground kept telling me he's here. So I kept asking. And one day, they called me downstairs. We used to watch TV, soccer in one of their offices after we pick up food, if they let us. And I walked into Dasuki, and I was like, wow, it's good to see you. NSA. He said, oh, Mr. President, I thought you're dying here. He said, no, well, I'm trying to survive, but I've been told I'm going to die here. And we became friends after that. And he would request for me if he's watching soccer, because he's an Arsenal fan. Arsenal, this English
and which team do you
football
support?
team. So
which team do you support?
I never knew about soccer that much until I got there, so I didn't support any team.
So just like,
but at the point after I watched a few times, I started liking Jose Mourinho's team. That was Tottenham, because I just like Jose Mourinho's attitude. But I didn't know who I knew about him, but I didn't know his team. It was when we were watching. So sometimes they'll let us watch 2 matches back to back. So we'll talk about it. But he's like a serious Arsenal fan, and I used to make fun of him. I said, that's why you like suffering, because how can you be Arsenal fan? Because you keep losing. Every time we went there, Arsenal could be winning by 4 goals and they'll still lose. That's interesting.
Okay, so what's your impression about him? Now you've spent time with him in prison. Before you met him, obviously you've written a lot during the time of the arms scandal. You've written a lot about him. Suddenly you have the opportunity now to spend time with him. What is your impression about him?
See, the first thing he said to me when he met me as I walked into the room, because it was already secret, he said, oh my God, you put us in all these problems with Sahara reporters. Why did you do this? And I said, what did you do? I said, well, he has lied against us. And then in the room, about 2 of them said, do you know I went to New York to meet Sowore to have a discussion when he was such a big problem for us. And when I called him, he refused to come, which is true. He said he came from Virginia to New York, stayed in one big hotel near my office, called me early in the morning and said, where are you? I said, I'm in New York. He said, can we see? I said, who's this? He said, Dasuki. So why do you need to see me? He said, well, we need to talk. I said, there's no conversation we can have that we can't have over the phone. So I never went to see him. When he told the DSS guys, they were shocked. They said, wow, how could you have refused to meet Dasuki? he was the most powerful man, or second powerful man after Jonathan, and there was money. And I said, that's exactly, I didn't meet him, because if I did, he would also be telling you today that I collected money from him. I don't want that kind of relationship where I can't defend myself. So, but he tried to explain that he was being victimized. And I asked him, why were there, like, did you beat up Buhari when he was arrested after he was overthrown by Babangida? He said no. He said, in fact, he was the one who went to meet Buhari in Jos on behalf of the coup plotters in 1983, that you'll be president or you'll be head of state. So get ready. Say Buhari was in a short, it was in boxer shorts or Mika, call it here in Nigeria. And that when Buhari got to power, they discovered Buhari has nothing upstairs. And then when they decided to remove him, yes, he couldn't say whether he was part of people that went to arrest him, but he said there was no physical torture. But he knows that Buhari doesn't forgive. And that might have come out of that period. He also told me something about Buhari, which is interesting, and his cousin. This Mama Daura. He said when Buhari was detained, he was detained in Benin City in a barrack. That for the period that Buhari was detained in Benin City, in a barrack and in a house, he said Buhari never went to the window to open the curtain. And then his cousin, Mama Daura, would come from Lagos and from Katsina and Lagos. Then they arranged for a flight for him to go to Benin. And then he started asking them to be flying him back to Katsina. I said, no, we don't have the plane to do that. And he got upset. And for Dasuki, this was all part of why they hated him so much. And he said it had nothing to do with corruption. That's what he told me in detention.
So basically, do you believe him that it has nothing to do with corruption, that it was just because of a personal vendetta or personal issues? Do you believe that?
Sorry, but I wrote a lot of stories about corruption under the regime. I don't have any reason to believe that those stories are not correct. But do I have a reason to believe that if you are corrupt or you're supportive for Buhari, he would not look at your corruption? Yes. But do I believe that Dasuki did not partake in the $2.2 billion haste that happened? Of course I don't. And I told him that. I told him straight to his face. I said, how could you think I'll believe that you didn't steal money?
So when you
evidence that was
when you asked him about the 2.2 billion and how they shared it, or quote unquote, quoting Buhari now, how they shared it as if they are on a dinner table. So did he have any defense for that?
Well, he said it's not true. But I'm used to Nigerian officials saying that any act of corruption is not true. He's more convinced that it was about the vindictiveness more than it is corruption. So he said it's not true. He said, no, I never stole a dime. But I never met a Nigerian official that said this stole money before. So even when they're caught red-handed. But as I said, do I believe that it's, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, finish your thought, sorry. Go ahead. You're saying?
No, I'm saying, do I believe that Buhari will not punish somebody who is supportive of him if he's a thief? I do. Buhari is what Northerners call Munafiki Banza, somebody who is neither here nor there. But as I've said, do I believe that there was no money stolen? Of course I don't, because I saw physical evidence of it. I presented it to the public through Sahara reporters. I wrote some of the stories myself with, undeniable evidence.
So if that is the case, that is more of vendetta. I mean, again, not denying that there was no corruption that is given. That is, obviously you said those evidence, the stories that you wrote then still stand. Now, if it's more about vendetta, that means the president probably, or those around him, must have gotten a pound of their flesh. Does that appear to you that he is very unlikely to come back to prison or to be charged?
You mean Dasuki?
Yes.
I think if he opens up, I don't think anybody can wait. He told me a number of things in prison. He said, you know, I don't want to say what I want to say, but if I'm forced to open up, and I think that's why they put him in detention without trial for such a long time, because he knew too much. And you know, he was in the security sector, he was the national security advisor to the president. So, but I don't know what will happen. I don't think they're interested in trying him. If they were interested, they wouldn't have kept him in detention for so long without trial, or, you know, extrajudicially as they did, because he was granted bail, asked to pay 100 million. He deposited the money, but they didn't release him, even though courts and courts of the land kept asking them to release him. In fact, it is believed that it was because of Myron case that he got. Believe me.
I hope you're still there. The network, I think they've taken the lights again.
It's back. It's back now.
Okay. So you were saying you hope you think it's because of your own case that he was eventually released.
I believe so, and I told him so, and he's never denied it to the day. I make fun of him. I got you out of detention, and you owe me your life. So, he will laugh about that. Yeah.
So I mean, okay. Let me leave Dasuki for now. Now, let me come back to something that happened before the 2019 presidential election. You were once seen with Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of indigenous people of Biafra. And many, I think that meeting happened.
That was after the 2019 election, though.
Okay, that was after the 2019 election. Okay. So now many are linking your arrest and detention, disobeying the court's law, or when a court said that, obviously, like in the case of Dasuki, many are now linking that to the reason why the government, quote unquote, is punishing you. How true is that assertion? Do you believe in that narrative?
I believe in that narrative, but I believe it's beyond just meeting the panel. When I sat down, I had interrogation with them. Yes, they raised that. What were you doing with Kanu? Did you know that his organization had been banned? Did you know that it's a fugitive? They also raised the fact that I also had contacts with the Shiites. And they believe that the revolution would happen on August 5 because they deployed the army, the Air Force, TSS, and the police. They told me that they spent 10 billion naira just to prepare for the Armageddon on August 5, 2019. But in hindsight, going by what I found out independently, I think it was also more about what Sahara brothers were doing to them damage in terms of the reporting that was going on, revealing their atrocities. Buhari's got issues. The chief of staff then, what's it called? Abakari. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I think your audio is playing up a little bit.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so the chief of staff then, Abakari, he said, he told them that I wrote a story about him that made him cry in front of his kids. And that for as long as he was alive, I would not leave detention. So I think it's a combination of a lot of factors. They were really scared that the revolution would happen. They hated me for Sahara reporters. They hated my relationship or my meaning with, Nnamdi Kanu. They mentioned that. They also said that they heard and they have evidence that I was in touch with the Shiites.
Sorry, before you continue, sorry here. Is there anything you can do about your audio? Your audio is crackling a little bit, and people are struggling to hear what you're saying.
Okay, let me. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, wonderful!
Can you hear me better?
Much better. Now let me come back. Let me piggyback on something here. You talked about what the DSS told you when they were interrogating you in their facility. Now, I know you have been trying, you have on many occasions not wanting to say this, but I'll ask you again, hoping that I can extract that information from you. What were the discussions you had with Nnamdi Kanu?
Well, I met with Nnamdi Kanu.
I have an account already with the post office. Okay. I want to go and do post-pay evolution that will associate me to post-pay telephone number.
Can you silence that person, please?
Sorry. Go ahead.
So most of what I said now the Kanu is public. I think we live streamed it. But there was some few things I said I was not live streamed. And one of it was that, look, my brother, I want you to have Biafra, but do you believe that breaking up Nigeria will still be forward? How about we pull our forces together, mine, yours, Shiites, all the disgruntled elements in Nigeria, and we prevent a revolution? 1 day, 2 days, maximum 5 days. And these guys are running helter-skelter. We go back and fix the Nigerian constitution, a real constitution. Put in everything you want. I put in everything I want. And let's just, He said to me, I think it's too late. We're past the stage where we would wait that, the Biafran project is about to be realized. And I told him, I said, my brother, do you think you can survive in Biafra for 6 months if you don't get rid of people, push aside people who are opposed to you, who are opposed to freedom? And these are Yorubas, Igbos, Hausas, the Ibios I mentioned all of them. So I think he told me that the thing that the Biafran project is going to be realized so soon. So, but he was also candid in our conversation privately that we should understand that this might be a little too difficult if there are no other people involved, because I told him that one of the mistakes that the Biafran campaign is doing is demonizing all the oppressed people. Why do you think they don't want to work with you? Why do you call Yorubas names? And she said, but can we talk to Shoyinka? Can we bring on other people? I said, you don't need Shoyinka, you don't need all these big people. You need people of like minds. And after that, I think we departed. But the damage had been done as far as the institute was concerned. The father was standing next to him, taking pictures with him, which are circulated worldwide and had gone viral. I had this live stream with him. They were just going crazy. And as soon as I arrived in Nigeria, even though they didn't arrest me at the airport, it was obvious that they were after me.
Again, I think
these are some of the things I could recollect.
I think your audio has gone bad again for some weird reason. We can hear almost half of what you're saying. Is it because of the Bluetooth connection?
Let me turn off the fan. No. Okay. I had a fan on.
Okay.
Maybe I should remove the Bluetooth. I don't know.
That's fine. That's
can
fine.
You hear
now.
me better now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Okay.
Okay.
So now, and obviously since
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Obviously, since that time, have you ever had a conversation with him? Have you met him again?
No. I left shortly after we met, I came to Nigeria, and I was arrested, and I've since been in Nigeria afterwards. I haven't been in direct contact with him. But I think there are people who known to him and myself who pass information, but we haven't been in direct touch. But when his parents were going to be buried, and I heard that the Nigerian government was going to bombard the burial and abduct people, I did tweets about it, that they shouldn't try it. And we always tweet back and forth at each other. There's no question about that, but we haven't had such a close conversation ever since then.
You said he told you that in that meeting that it is now late to restructure or to build Nigeria. Yes. Now, having gone through all that,
yes,
the Nigerian government had made you go through in the last getting to 2 years now, do you still hold the view that things can still be made right?
Oh yeah, I'm of the same opinion as him that restructuring cannot work. I'm also of the opinion that elections simply can't fix Nigeria problems, because elections are determined even before the election dates. But I still believe very strongly that a revolution can make Nigeria work. And a revolution means that we change the current status quo ante, put in a new constitution, putting in that constitution everything that we want, including referendum and whomever want to leave when they're tired. But that constitution is not determined by a few military buzzards or generals. But I don't believe that breaking up Nigeria will simply solve Nigeria's problem. Because I know a lot of these bad guys, and I know if you break up Nigeria, all the bad guys will go to their own part of Nigeria and sabotage Nigeria.
Some people call it the relocation of thieves.
Yeah. So thieves are going to be relocated to their own region. Oppressors are going to be relocated to their, You cannot ask for peace and development in any part of the world without disarming criminals. Criminals are still well armed. They have stash of cash, and they can do anything they want to do at any time. You're deceiving yourself to think that if you just break Nigeria up, that being a smaller entity, you're able to defend your own area. Because they'll just go there. You have enough of them in Biafra. We have enough of them wherever I come from. And everybody has enough of these bad guys in their own neighborhoods. So that's why I don't subscribe to the overly simplistic idea that the breakup of Nigeria will solve the problem. And some people don't agree, and I don't have a problem with that. It's my opinion.
Okay, so, and you've been talking about revolution. It appears in your concept, you think revolution can be planned. You obviously, before you mentioned that when DSS spent, or rather the government spent about 10 billion in order to get ready, thinking that the Armageddon that you talked about will come. But suddenly, in October 2020, unplanned, people woke up just by mere tweet. EndSARS.
Yeah.
The revolution was almost there, not the one you were thinking that it was going to be planned.
You had no idea what I was planning or what I was thinking about. You see, in revolutions, people don't just wake up overnight, and I knew it. But you see, people can derive, their own strength and motivation from events that happen, inspiration from events that happened before. EndSARS that you're talking about was started in Abuja by the Revolution Now movement. Before everybody was afraid of Buhari because they hear about the killings of Shiites on the streets of Abuja on a daily regular basis. So revolutions just don't happen because you decreed them. It happened because a lot of events come to coalesce together. It's just like, when you talk about what is this thing they call where you have a rainstorm. And because they said it's different air currents with different characteristics come together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they form rainstorm or rain and what you see in thunderstorm, because there's a coalition of or collision of a lot of air currents with different characteristics. It's the same thing revolutions are, but I think people actually thought about EndSARS and worked towards EndSARS and had the confidence about EndSARS because we kept testing the system. If you remember on August 5, 2020, Femi Adesina said we had a remembrance of revolution now. They said it's child's play. This is not how to do a revolution. And then by October, it wasn't child's play anymore because that also made people feel upset. So you think we're playing, okay, we'll show you next time. But I think now a lot of people have gone past that fear because what's driving people back was fear that if you go out, they'll kill you. It's just maul you. And of course, they tried to do that at Lekki, but I don't think they succeeded. In fact, if I had my way, our best date to foment a revolution was October 21, the day after Lekki, because the state apparatus of oppression had been weakened and they were on the run. But because we hadn't planned this very well, this is why we failed to take that.
Now,
if you look at Burma,
let me
yes.
quickly interject here. Imagine this scenario, because when we talk about revolution, imagine the scenario of where, like in Orile, where you see police stations being burned everywhere, BRT being burned, ShopRite, everything. It appeared Armageddon. People's warehouse, people went in there, started dragging and taking things home. In a revolution, in that sense, it will mean total chaos. And nobody, not even yourself, not even your organization, might be in charge, in control to get people to behave in a rightful manner. So in that sense, doesn't that not justify the argument of those who say, well, let us do this revolution in an orderly manner rather than chaos?
You see, that's a very interesting question, and assertion. What happened was that people were peacefully revolting. It was government that came with their own talks to start a new version of that provoked the resistance. Go and find out what happened in Orile that came out of the police station had seized someone's laptop because they said the person was Yahoo. They just happened to be a coincidence. But where people were peacefully protesting, the Nigerian government sent in talks with machete to attack peaceful protesters. They did it in Abuja, they did it in Lagos, and that had nothing to do with what was going on. It was the people reacting against the oppression of the government. But people remained peaceful, including at Lekki toll gate, where even when the government arrived with the army, people were holding the Nigerian flag and singing the national anthem, and the army was pumping live bullets into their midst. So we shouldn't get it wrong. Up until October 20, people remained peaceful, even as they were provoked. And that's what the revolution is about. But let me tell you another thing. During the EndSARS period, Nigeria experienced least crime. You can go check it. There were no armed robberies, no kidnappings. They were safe. All the kidnappers took a break. They went on vacation. There was almost no crime anywhere. The only places where you have described this kind of crimes happening where government intervened and provoked crime themselves, because government in Nigeria is criminal in nature.
So, but again, do you foresee a revolution happening without massive bloodshed?
Yes, I do. it's a matter of
how is that possible?
Quick it could. And I think that, EndSARS should tell you, if we have an EndSARS 2 today, people will move their experience from EndSARS 1 to EndSARS 2.
even the EndSARS,
I should tell you about Mali. Yeah.
Okay.
I should tell you about Mali. Mali had a similar situation around the time we're having EndSARS, and Jonathan was being sent there. Yes, some people died, but they insisted. And at the point when the military was overwhelmed, they joined the people, overthrew the president of the country. After 2 weeks, he had stroke, and I think about 3 weeks later, he died. So peace. That's an example of a peaceful revolution in the West African region. So don't let it sound like this is impossible. It's possible. It's just a matter of how many people are involved and how quickly we want to get rid of these leeches who are destroying our country.
I don't think, the issue here is that, in time, when something like that happens, one is, it is our duty to interrogate and see, if there are gaps in the planning and how things probably could play out. And that's, the reason why that question came. Now, having said that, what do you think was the greatest lesson learned from EndSARS? And do you, for 1 second, believe, after the lessons of EndSARS, that we are going to have anything, again, close to what happened in EndSARS? Obviously, because you can see, EndSARS,
yes.
EndSARS, some part of Nigeria didn't partake in EndSARS. But the moment he got into palliative looting, you saw them even looting tractors, as big as a tractor is, and we saw it. Everyone saw it. So, using that as an example, do you think that some, similar thing can happen and we can get somewhere?
Oh, absolutely. You see, you have described palliative discovery and recovery as looting. It is not looting. When people discover what belongs to them and they take it, you shouldn't call it looting, right? But palliative discovery and recovery happen across the country. Jos was an example. Jos is not Lagos, it's not Abuja. Mm-hmm. And in Jos, they met at this place where they discovered palliatives and recovered it. And
but he went beyond palliative recovery.
And
there's even schools like in Yola, in Adamawa, other places we are actually vandalized, no longer recovered.
Yeah, but how did you tell? How could you tell that the vandalism was done by the people and not the security agents? Didn't you see security agents who were stealing rice? Didn't you see security agents in Lagos who were using security vehicles?
Because they are also hungry. They are helping themselves.
Out of
the palliative was
exactly
also
so. But how do you then blame the people? Yeah. But what you find out about the palliative recovery is that it brought about the unity of the oppressed. Not only in Jos, it didn't matter whether you are Muslim or Christian. For the first time, Jos that was divided, everybody came together for the purpose of recovering what belongs to the people, which are these palliatives. So, and nobody was hurt. As massive as that palliative recovery was, nobody was killed, nobody was trampled upon, because it was like a pyramid scheme. Everybody was helping from the top to down, and to make sure that what belonged to people got to everybody. What I'm saying is that you can't make conclusive statements about who went and removed the roofs. It could have been the army, the police, because everybody was hungry, as you admitted, and everybody needed something. And that's why an EndSARS 2 would have taken an experience from EndSARS 1.
But do you think
that will make it even more interesting?
Do you think moving from from the experiences and from what we saw in that EndSARS 1, do you think there is anything that would ever make Nigerian to work toward the common purpose? Because obviously the nation was divided. The North the far north, but when I say north, not north, but the far north was totally against the EndSARS protest. And obviously some of the youths were used as a means to destabilize them. We saw what happened in Abuja where you were. And also in Lagos, we saw what happened in Lagos. To a point, one thing, a spontaneous protest by the Nigerian youth was used as an ethnic divide and rule, that even at some point, the Igbos were almost being attacked, that led to us, this platform, intervening and quickly organizing a Yoruba and Igbo parley in order to douse people. So do you think anything of such anything of such could happen?
I wanted to debunk that theory that in Lagos, that it was Northerners, that the fight back that you saw in Lagos was carried out by the political elite. And they used Yoruba people against Yoruba people. You remember that machete carrying guy? I don't know his name anymore.
No, sure.
Who
Sorry.
was used?
Lagos,
he had a machete.
In Lagos, it was. Yeah. Sorry, in Lagos,
it was Yoruba. Yeah.
In Lagos, but in Abuja, it's you obviously you can analyze the videos.
No, in Abuja, it was also political. In Abuja, the people who went to attack protesters were carried around in DSS vehicles, those SUVs. Don't you have the videos?
Sure, sure. Yes.
So yes, you have the videos. Yeah. It was all of the attacks on innocent protesters was carried out by governments. Yes, in Abuja, probably there are more preponderance of Hausa boys because there are a lot of them around who are available. But it wasn't in Hausa versus anybody. It was the government versus protesters. The same thing happened in Lagos. I even heard the same thing happen in Gombe. So what the government does, these criminal elements in government does, is that they look for those who are weak and vulnerable to use to attack anybody. They just tell them a narrative. Look, you're not the only one who did a thing. When the Oba of Lagos Palace was looted, they immediately started claiming that it was Igbos that went to loot the Oba's Palace and that carried his staff. You can go to my Facebook page. I said it is not Igbos. Eventually, the people who were arrested were all Yorubas. The people they claimed they arrested, but they never apologized to anybody for claiming it was Igbos. They wanted to make it was a political elite. They wanted to make it an ethnic thing because it's easier for them to solve the problem if they make it ethnic than it would be if they said it's a pan-Nigerian revolt. So let's get the facts right.
Sure.
But again, I want to inform you that people did protest in the north. People protested in Jos. People protested in Adamawa State. People protested in Jalingo, in Taraba State. People protested in Gombe. I have evidence, but most importantly, I used to be a student union activist. There has never been one single pan-Nigerian protest before. Even during June 12, when they voted for Abiola, Igbos protested. The political elite, then led by the military, was able to balkanize and bifurcate everybody. And before you knew it, the Igbos were running away from Lagos. They turned it into a Yoruba affair. And they started giving people political appointments that suits that narrative, that is not a pan-Nigerian mandate that Abiola had. So we're used to these tricks. It's not new.
Okay, so let's move away from obviously the Lekki, but obviously something has to give way. What is happening today, it's a tragedy. Now, in July 2019, months after the general election, yourself and Malcolm Fabi were expelled from the party. Many believe that you and Malcolm, with a couple of others, actually birthed it. What really happened?
As soon as it started before even the election. See, we were looking for a platform to run as presidential candidate, and we had Take It Back, which was our movement. We went around Nigeria to find a political party. I think there was 70 or 80 of them that could accept us. Nobody would accept us because they said our message was too strong and radical.
Oh, but hold on. But I thought one of the videos I saw, Baba Rawa Musa or whatever, offered you to use his party. In fairness to him,
he did. But the moment we left to his house, he also reversed himself. You can Google it. He said he never offered this platform. That he don't know when that happened. He reversed himself. So we went underground through some of our friends, and we heard there was registration of party going on. We started registering a party and formed our party. The moment we the party was started. On the day the party was registered and we announced, we made it very clear that this is a party that is different in orientation and agenda to rescue Nigeria. We didn't mince words. And they started trying to clip our wings at that time. So because of the way the party was quickly registered, we had people who, I must admit, were not properly vetted, who were part of the party. And they used them, they penetrated the party through them, to the point that our party secretary general did not vote. On the day of the election, he was with General Gowon in Abuja, because he had said to us, the party, that's the guy who eventually claimed he's now running, he's the owner of the party, that we should not contest. That's not our time. We should just sell our tickets or endorse either Buhari or Atiku. We found out during that period that's how these small parties or smaller parties operate. But we were able to register and we contested. And as soon as the elections were over, it was as if they had overlooked us or tolerated us enough. They pounced on us through these elements in our party. I was in the plane in Delta Airline going from Lagos to New York when I saw on AIT and several other news platforms that were very sympathetic to the government, that me and Macron were expelled from the party. I got on the ground and said, how's that possible? I just left Nigeria. And we responded. Before we could get back to Nigeria, a judge, which we heard was linked to Wike, had given a ruling that because we didn't come and swear to David personally, that he wouldn't even hear the merit of the case. This justice equal. And that was how they started. And when they saw that, when I came back and I confronted them, of course, my arrest was very, very quick. And I believe it was also part of it. I described meeting Kanu, meeting Shiites, and also Sahara reporters. But I also think that contributed to that arrest. Like, we have to take you out of circulation so that you don't have a political platform to challenge the status quo.
But that's looking at the political...
We have been in court.
Looking at that political party, looking at that political party, was it right for you to be the national chairman of the party, which is African Action Congress, AAC, and at the same time, their presidential candidate?
See, let me explain to you very quickly. We had a party convention. And at that party convention, we had interim officers before we went to the party convention. And INEC was present. When I was appointed, when I was endorsed as the party presidential candidate, we moved to have a convention that will elect officials of the party. And members of the party said, it is too early. So we remain as interim leaders of the party. When we're done with the election, because don't forget, we registered the party around August. I'm not sure exact month, around August 2018. And we ran into election as of 2018, and by 2019 February, we're running for election. Yes. So the constitution is very clear that that's not a crime. I wasn't the only person was chairman of party and presidential candidate of party. Tope Pashua was Gani Farimi when he was chairman of party. When he was NCP chairman, was also presidential candidate of presidential candidates of a party is a short term, But we agreed at the party's level, and we have records of this, that as soon as the elections are over, we would come to a special convention and elect proper leaders, because all of us till now are interim leaders. We're not of the party. But we didn't get to that by the time the government had entered into the party and tried to dismantle the party and propped up somebody who now claims is the chairman of the party. So it wasn't unconstitutional. But would I tell you that I was comfortable with that? I wasn't. But it was a decision of the party executives and the party's convention, which took place in Lagos. We had over 3,000 people in attendance. Femi Falana was the spokesperson that was our main speaker at that event. So there was nothing hidden about it. It was a decision that was taken by everybody that will come to a special convention because we don't have much time, and it wasn't a crime. It was constitutionally accepted to determine new party leaders. But we never really got to that before the government, entered the party.
Is Femi Falana part of or is he a party member of yours?
No, he's not. He was just somebody that was invited as a spokesperson at the party convention. He's not. Femi Falana was a member of the National Conscience Party, but I even doubt he's a member of that party. I don't think he's in any party as we speak today. I think it's a neutral person. But he used to be in Ghanai's National Conscience Party, I think as a chairman in 2011. Yeah.
Okay. If we go by ethnic nationalities as Nigeria is made up today, I can comfortably, and I have no apologies, I'm Onyibo, I'm Igbo, and I can, for you, some people, or rather, when I sometimes watch you, you have a Ishekiri Yoruba lineage. Now, there are many separatist groups all over Nigeria. Okay. There are, Jonathan was your kinsman, and you kicked anyway.
He was, yeah.
So there are many separatist groups all over Nigeria. The most recent and very loud as well is the Oduduwa Nation agitation groups. What do you think of these recent agitations and its amplification?
The way I look at it is that, let's say you might think of Nigeria as, cleavage, the breaking up of Nigeria by way of these agitations as just ethnic or religious or whatever. But if you ask yourself, one question that will stand out is that, are the Igbos, the Yorubas, the only ones who want out of Nigeria? I'll tell you no. Majority of Nigerians have mentally seceded from Nigeria, regardless of where they come from.
Sure.
The country doesn't work for anybody, and most people want to leave. A lot of people are staying here because they have nowhere to go. It's because the country doesn't work. My position, though, is that the country is not working because of leadership. And I said earlier that if you break it up simply because you think it's going to work because it's broken up, you're going to find out, you'll soon be shocked that breaking Nigeria up is not the solution. It is breaking up the oppressive chains in the country that will solve the problem. Because I meet a lot of Igbos, businessmen, intellectuals, in private. They just want to live in a world where they can do what they want to do. As I usually say, cheekily, the Igbos have conquered the world, but they love their villages. So, but go to the NBA, you find Igbos there. Go to the NFL in the US, you find Igbos there. Go to, English Premier League, you find Igbos there. Go to Hollywood, Nollywood, you find Igbos there. Go to universities. Go to every city in America, most cities, I won't say every city, you find an Igbo chemist or a pharmacist. So they're all over the place. They've conquered the world already, but their love for their village, you can't take it away by decree or fiat. So that's where we are. That you have to understand that most Nigerians are frustrated with Nigeria. It's not an Igbo thing at all.
But if you have your way today, what do you think would be the best thing to do with Nigeria as it is? Is it to restructure it along the line?
I'll change it.
Argue, or what's
We're past restructuring. If I have my way, there will be a revolution. I don't hide it. You keep asking me the same question over and over again.
No. But the revolution is not a system. No. The revolution is not a system. Revolution is to disrupt.
It's not a system. Yeah,
it's a system disruption.
It's a disruption
exactly.
that will put in place
but not an end itself. It's a means
that will be acceptable. Yes. It's just like you said to someone. You understand that you have a pot that has dirty water in it, and you can't drink it. You understand? And you don't know how to pour it out. How about you break it? And then get another pot that gives you drinkable water. I don't know if it makes sense. So, but breaking it, in my own view, is not breaking it and then you break it and you start drinking the dirty water with the breakaway pots. You haven't changed the water. The water needs to be changed. That makes sense to you.
Based on what you just said now, let me explore your revolution more. It means doing away with the old order, destruct the current system. What guarantee do you have that the moment you do that, you're not going to have the same people somehow reincarnate and get themselves recycled?
Except you haven't read about revolution. The reason why revolutions are unique is that the moment they happen, you don't go back to what used to happen before. Go and read about the French Revolution, the American Revolution. Go and read about the Egyptian Revolution, the Tunisian Revolution. I don't want to put Libya in the mix because that wasn't the revolution. That was
but there was a revolution in Mali.
There was a revolution in Mali, and the people of Mali.
Do you know what the Malian soldiers are doing right now?
It's not about what they're doing. It's about the fact that revolutions don't end overnight, right? And what I mean don't end overnight is that go and ask about how long it took for the French Revolution. It took about 10 years, a span of 10 years, for it to become permanent and be codified in the minds and hearts of people. So part of our problem in Nigeria is that anytime we want to change, we want it to happen overnight. And we like to outsource the process of change to people we think know how to do it, because a lot of people are fearful to get involved. And when you do that, then you start bothering about how those people remake Nigeria in their own image. Why am I saying that? People will say to you in Nigeria, here, I hear it all the time. The British created Nigeria, so we want to Nigeria is not. We want to break off so that we create our own section. They forget that if there's a Yoruba nation today, it will be created by some people to accord in their own image. Because you refuse to participate in the process, you ask some people to go and do it for you, whether it's Sunday Boho or the OPC. Do you think when they create Nigeria and they're Oduduwa, they are going to leave Oduduwa for you to be made in your own image? No. They'll create it according to their own image. In Biafra today, if you create Biafra, if it was done by Kanu or done by Wazirike, who would think will influence it more? The one that wins. So it's not that simple. And
but the final decision, will be subjected to a referendum.
But That's what we are saying about the revolution too, that there will be a referendum after the revolution. We create a new constitution. And the referendum will be very clear. If you are Igbo and you are in Nigeria, you no longer want to be in Nigeria like South Africans did, leave. This is a process for you to exit. You understand? So, and we take it from there.
Okay.
We'll take it from there.
And
which is just not, yeah.
Let me come back home. You know, I come back to the Ijaw Nation. You obviously, many would think that you worked against, or many would argue that you worked against the former president of Nigeria, that is in the person of Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. But my question to you would be, do you regret working against Jonathan's interests in 2015?
No, I don't.
Now,
because
okay, your reasons?
In 2011, listen to me. In 2011, when there was a president from the northern part of Nigeria who was sick, and his wife and the cabal didn't want the power to shift to Jonathan, who was the vice president at that time, without being told, without being asked, without being tapped, I worked to ensure that justice was done, and Jonathan became president. And I have said it repeatedly in a lot of interviews, right? Jonathan sent messages to me, said, I couldn't believe you did this for me. Can you come home? Send the room to Douglas. He's late now, so can you come home and be with our government? I said, I can't work with the government. I didn't do it for you. I did it for my own conscience. So do I regret bringing Jonathan in? Of course I don't. I was working for justice. When Jonathan got into power, he set out to loot the Nigerian treasury. And the evidence is there. You mentioned Dasuki before. You heard about how much money was taken from the wife and several other officials of government under his regime. They looted. They took Nigeria to the cleaners. I did what my conscience tells me is right. I did not think about ethnicity. I didn't think about religion. I didn't think about provinciality. I fought to ensure that he was exposed, so that, because I was very disappointed in him, because I think he was the first PhD holder to be Nigeria's president. And I thought he would be different. So how could you regret doing what is right and what is just? People who want to impose a regret upon me or upon anybody, they do that because probably of what they were benefiting from Jonathan. I am colorblind. I'm ethnic blind. I am blind to religion. I'm blind to sentiments, and except Jonathan, nobody made Buhari president. If Jonathan had performed very well, Buhari would have lost the election the first time the way he lost it 3 other times. But Jonathan performed so woefully, as we used to say in those days, even a goat could have defeated him in the election.
Okay, so in that case, do you now think that comparatively, that the man who has taken over from him, an ex-general, has done better either?
No, that's the reason why I'm equally and ferociously opposed to him. While I'm opposed to Buhari, Jonathan works for Buhari today. Why are people not asking that question? He's the ambassador plenipotentiary to Buhari regime. You can send him to go and clean toilets, he will go for it. In fact, recently he was trying to join the APC.
But isn't that
he goes to Buhari's house and
isn't that what ex-presidents do? Obasanjo do that sometimes. When Abu Salami Abubakar does that sometimes when they go on errand for the nation.
For the Buhari's regime, most ex-presidents do their way. Why is it different? Obasanjo, even though I'm also opposed to him, because this is a class of failed persons, right? Failed persons. I don't support them. But Jonathan is the one who has been very close to Buhari in terms of doing his biddings, more than any ex-president. I think all the ex-presidents just can't find
so why do you think that is the
and
case?
They expressed it. Because Jonathan is not different from Buhari. They're all the same.
You know, during the time of Yar'Adua, obviously,
It's just
your platform.
I want to tell you about what. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, during the time of Yar'Adua, your platform reported was the first to report that the president was already dead, and many people didn't believe that at that time.
Yes.
Sahara Reporters became the good morning website to go to when you wake up in the morning. Now, recently, we have seen the current president spent some time in London over ill health. And in the last 2 years, probably he hasn't traveled, or a year plus. But recently, for a routine medical checkup, he has gone to London. I read your tweet. You were calling for Buhari to go home from the United Kingdom. Many would want to know, is that a personal growth with him? Or do you think everything is wrong with him staying in London and getting medical treatment?
Everything is wrong because he made it clear when he was running for office. He went to Chatham House, gave a big speech there, and said he will abolish medical tourism. He failed. Even the BBC wrote a story that it's one of his it's one of the promises he failed to deliver. So it's not impersonal. I called for him to return home to the hospital he built. And if I'm correct, by tonight, I heard he has already returned home. But for the 14 days that he was, for as long as he was in the UK, we made his life miserable. But people often think that, Buhari is the only one that goes for foreign treatment. Jonathan, during his time, used to go to London too for treatment. That's why I'm saying there's no difference.
So if Jonathan was doing that,
I look at it and I just look.
If Jonathan did that, then I would then ask you, what is the justification for Reno Omokri to be protesting if the man he served did the same?
No, look, Reno Omokri is a political jobber, and I say that all the time. Reno Omokri's hypocrisy is legendary. Reno Omokri will tell you that, you brought Buhari to power. But Reno Omokri worked for Atiku in the last election. Atiku paid Buhari $50 million, gave him private jet to run for office. And when it was time for him to run, Reno Omokri was one of his lieutenants. Reno Omokri did not believe in the abduction of Chibok girls. But when one girl was abducted, Leah Sherebu from Dapchi, Reno Omokri was all over it, writing books, making t-shirts about her, So this is what Reno Omokri does for a living, supporting political ideas and views that support his stomach. It's a stomach infrastructure thing. And I heard him today saying that, because of Ramadan, is calling off his protest against Buhari. But Reno Omokri did not even go to the protest more than 2 or 3 times. Our people that's revolutionary people wearing our orange beret, they went to protest against Buhari every day until last night. If the information I have is correct that Buhari has left, it is because our people never wavered until the end. But we are not here competing. If I'm doing a protest and Reno Omokri shows up, I would accommodate him. He has a right to protest. But what I know about him is that this is what Reno Omokri worked for El Rufai. He worked for Atiku under Obasanjo. In fact, he and Garba Shehu used to share opposite offices. And Garba Shehu was written about this. So I'm talking to you as somebody who's never worked in government before, and I don't plan to work in government. So I'm not doing this to benefit myself or to get the next job.
Then
I'm doing it because my conscience tells me Buhari is a bad person.
Is it true that during the time APC was being formed, that most of those publications that Sahara reporters do publish do come from them, and that they were at that point were also giving money to Sahara reporters?
Of course, Sahara reporters was based in the US. If you lived in the US even for 2 days, you understand that you can't bring in money and out of the US without accounting for it.
Yeah, but we have our politicians flying
they say this
money every now and then.
I'm telling you, in my honor, and if you have something contrary, please bring it out. I've never received funding from politicians before of any time. In fact, if anybody tried to give me money, it was Jonathan when he became acting president, came to the US. He sent a guy, Imani Boro, to New York with stash of cash. Imani called me, Imani Boro, I'm mentioning his name, is still alive. He said, Mr. President sent me to bring you money. I said, who's president?
Mm. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're back now. I think you were frozen for a while, so you're back now.
I said to New York to meet me, and I never met him. All right. So there are way to blackmail people in Nigeria to mention money. The moment money is involved to mention about something, people don't look back. They just think that you're tainted, things like that. But what I say is I take my time to respond. When somebody once accused me of owning a $5 million house in California that Tinubu bought it for me, And they set up a blog. I think it was probably Reno Mokri and the rest of them. The moment the election was over, they pulled the blog. It doesn't exist anymore. But they put out the information just so that they can tar people who are opposed to them with. If I had any dealings with APC, when they put me in detention for 5 months, don't you think they would have released something to the world? Because when they detained even Nnamdi Kanu, they were able to put out videos of him. They sent out his statement where he said, I apologize to Buhari for what I said about him. And then they put out a video of him and his wife, or wife to be that time. The government will blackmail you. That's what they do for a living. For 5 months, they couldn't find anything on me. They came to me with a delegation asking if I wanted to get out, I should strike a deal. I refused. Go and ask my lawyer.
So what sort of deal was that?
After they left me, they asked them, when they were asking for what I wanted, I said, I don't want anything first. And second, I said, you can't have a conversation with me without my lawyer present. They flew to Lagos to meet with Femi Falana. They told Femi Falana, according to Femi, that they wanted me to apologize to Buhari so that they can let me go. And Femi told them that for sure that would be suicide. Since that day, they came to meet me and they met Femi. They didn't let me make a phone call until I was released. You understand? So I'm not new to these people. I started as a student activist when money could have bought me, when they were distributing 545 saloon cars to student union leaders under Buhari, under Babangida. I've never looked back since then. I've done this for 30 years. So for somebody to sit down and say APC is giving you money, it's the easiest blackmail that can be splashed. It's a quota. Splash it, see if it sticks. It's a mud. But I keep challenging them. They've accused me of working for Tinubu. And when they discovered that I was one of the persons who our platform carried one of the most damaging stories on Tinubu, they changed and said you are working for PDP. There's no party that they've never accused me of working for. They once accused me of working for even this Jonathan. The Jonathan who then turned around with his own aides to accuse me of working for APC. They used to accuse me. They said it was because I was in jail and I was supporting my brother. That was during Jonathan and Yaradua's time. But can I tell you something? I've never met Jonathan before in my life. Never met Buhari before in my life. Never met Obasanjo before in my life. Never met Abdul Salami before in my life. Never met Babangida in my life. I've never met a Nigerian head of state before or president. Never. Never. Because I don't need them to do what I do.
Okay, so let's
even in Abuja, I don't know where they're located.
Okay, that's fine. So let's quickly begin to wind down a little bit, and wind up. In May 2020, during the EndSARS, you described the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, as a madman for demolishing a hotel in Port Harcourt for breaking the COVID-19 protocol. Do you think that action was justified?
No, it's not only that I know him as a madman. I knew that he was starting something that would take more lives. And I wish that people knew what he was driving at that time. Wike has always been a mad person. If Wike was president of Nigeria, Buhari would look good, compared to him. When he was done with the hotel, what did Wike go next to do? Remember? He went to Obi-Igbo in collusion with Nigerian military. Do you know how many young people they killed over there? The ones they couldn't kill, they took them to Kanji barracks here in Abuja, tortured them. There were 63 of them. Those guys are never going to recover. So, and I've always known Wike to be somebody that should not have been allowed to near political power. He's a dictator, he's a baby tyrant. That's how I actually described him at that time.
Okay. And, in rounding up here, I need your candid view on this. In 2015, you started an online petition against the former Minister of Finance in the person of Dr. Okonjo-Iweala. In that petition, you demanded for Yale, I believe, to withdraw her doctorate degree at that time. Do you regret that action now that she is, many can say she is now the chairman of or the head of the World Trade Organization, that she is doing fine against all odds?
First, let me correct you. I wasn't the one who started a petition. Even as a rule, I don't sign petitions online. It was a petition written by Sunday Iwalaye. He's a PhD holder. You can Google his name, Sunday Iwalaye. It's on Facebook. I tweeted this petition on my handle, but as it is customary with our people, they said I was the one who started the petition. If I did, I would own up to it. But go and check the petition. And this is important for your work, right? The second aspect of it is that somebody became the Director General of the World Trade Organization is not a reason for us to overlook what they've done against the country. Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala superintended over two regimes that were the most corrupt, Obasanjo and Jonathan in this country, some of the most corrupt in this country. World Trade Organization is nothing special for me to make me feel that because she got a job, she should not be criticized for the handling of the Nigerian economy under her watch. So just be very clear about that.
But hold on here.
I know people don't want to hear this.
Do you blame her? Yeah. Do you blame her? Let's say in the case of Jonathan, when it came to the point of disbursing money meant for military equipment, and she advised, noting that something was probably wrong in that transaction, she ordered that the president be signed, and the document was also kept. Now, meaning you are serving a government, because I remember I asked you a question before, why you were the presidential candidate and the party chairman, you said the party made a decision. Now, if she's serving a government where the government makes a decision, she's not a military personnel, she doesn't know anything about military, but they started threatening her, oh, the reason why we are losing this fight against Boko Haram is because the finance ministry is not disbursing money. And if finance ministry is not disbursing money, she's now made to disburse money, but saying with a caveat, I would disburse this money, but can you get the president to sign that we should? And yes, she served Obasanjo. Yes, she served Goodluck Jonathan. But she has been one person that not a single accusation or a case has been brought against her in any corruption charge anywhere.
Do you know of accessory to crime? It's a legal terminology. And you know about accessory after a crime, where you know that a crime will be committed. And you sign off on it because you said, well, my superior asked me to do it.
No, on security matter,
I understand.
They were going to buy ammunition. Details she doesn't know.
Have you heard about have you heard about the Nuremberg trials, where they said it very clearly that you cannot justify the killing of anyone because your superior asked you to do it? Do you know about whistleblowers? Do you know that as Ministry of the Finance Minister, she could have blown the whistle on a massive corruption that she knew we gave Nigerians, and she said, look, yes, I'm minister, but I'm resigning. What happens about honor, personal honor? Let her come and tell me at the World Trade Organization that they took a decision under her watch to loot the World Trade Organization. And she has to just get along because she can't prevent it. She'll be in jail the next day. When she was in the World Bank, could she do that? Listen, I know we like to give excuses for woeful performances of our people, or that to say that because somebody was able to get a better employment. Yes, let's just look at her. She survived all odds. When she was being appointed under Trump, even though Trump is mostly supported by her supporters, what did Trump people say? They clearly said it that they don't want her because she's incompetent. Even though she abandoned Nigerian citizenship to take American citizenship because opportunistically, she needed that job badly. So, like I said to you, oh man, I know nobody wants to hear that, Nobody wants to hear that, but the truth cannot be masked by her supposed, success. Because when she was shouting debt forgiveness, Nigeria, go and look on the internet. She said, after paying the debts that we couldn't even verify, that Nigeria will be making $1 billion every year to service needed areas. It never happened. But yes, she was rewarded because she was a lackey of the West. She was a lackey of the West. And the West will reward you if you did their bidding. And the World Bank types.
Well,
yeah. So I have asked her before, yes, I've asked her before that we should do a debate over her performance, her woeful performance as the Minister of Finance in Nigeria. When she came back the second time, she even chose her title. I don't remember the bogus title she put together, And I know her very well. She has trolls on the internet. They pay them very well. She used to write articles in her own name, which is fake, with fake names just to praise herself. I know all those things, and with Paul Umabiku, who is his aide. She's intolerant of anybody who doesn't agree with her. She made up a story when she was Minister of Finance that people who were opposed to her position on, what is it called? The payment of subsidies, kidnapped her parents or her mom. It turns out that it was a palace guard that did that. The records are there, But nobody challenged her because you dare not. She has people who will go after you. They'll go after you with religion. She's female. She's, you're after her because she's not from your tribe. She plays all those games. Very divisive person. So and you're hearing me. It's on record, that I said this.
It's been a very long conversation, but I think one of this one. What's do you have any quarrel with Kogi Deputy Governor Edward Onoja?
No, I don't. So what Edward did was that two of our comrades, Nigerians, went to Kogi State to paste Buhari must go posters and did graffiti. They were arrested, and Edward organized for them to be flogged, physically flogged, abused, tortured.
Was that actually real? Because I thought
Kogi State,
that video.
It was real. You see, it was real. It was the video was actually uploaded by the Commissioner of Information in Kogi State with a press release praising the people who flogged them. And with a press release, you can Google it, you can find it. They was uploaded by the state government. So I tried and found Edward's number. I said, Edward, why would anybody do this to a Nigerian? He wrote me a long epistle that, yes, he's very proud of what the youth did in beating up these people. And that, he started insulting me personally too. So that's where it started. And we kept asking him, you can't get away with crimes against humanity. You can't beat up people because they're opposed to Buhari. And that's so, I don't have anything personal against him.
Are you people planning to
I'm just telling you that
case?
That's where the
Are you people
conversation
planning
started.
to take that case to court?
They took them to court already. They went to it because the judiciary workers are on strike. They went to a judge chamber and threw them in prison. They are now in Kaba prison without trial. They just arranged for a judge, a magistrate to send them to prison. A magistrate has no jurisdiction to try treason. They charge one of them for treason and one of them for defacing or constituting nuisance. These are bailable offenses.
Okay.
But they were happy that this kind of impunity was carried out in their state, and we're challenging them over that. So.
Okay. Quickly, rounding up here, let me ask you this last question here. Do you regret, or rather, do you have any regrets joining politics, calling for revolution, and would you contest in 2023 presidential election?
No, I have no regrets calling for revolution. I believe a revolution is going to be the solution to Nigeria's problem. Some other persons have a different view. Some people think it's restructuring. Some people think it's breakup. All of them are entitled to their opinion and legit. Nigeria is not working. I will agree with you. Will I run in 2023? I say it, and I'm not saying it metaphorically. Well, we started running now. Well, I don't know if Nigeria will be here in 2023 if we keep going on this trajectory. So,
but if Nigeria were to be here in 2023, will you run again in 2023?
I'm sure you need for us to have another interview. We can check up on that when we're ready. I'll be back.
I'll definitely oblige you that. Thank you, Mr. Sowore, for joining the conversation. But before I let you go, I would allow two people to ask you questions. I will take two questions from those within this Zoom. If you want to ask Mr. Sowore a question, can you quickly raise your hand and I can bring you in to ask that question. Those of you watching us online, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube, if you do have any question, it's time to tap it out now. So I have Richard Deba. Richard, can you quickly unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good evening, Mr. Sowore. I want to ask you this, because I have been following you right from the days of the university. With all you have stated today, what is the way forward to this, all the hula baloo that has been happening around our country, Nigeria? Are we going for secession, or are we going for one Nigeria?
Thank you very much, Richard. So, please, before you do answer that question,
going for a revolution. All right.
Okay. Let me take the second question from Vincent. Then after that, Timmy Lola, please. Vincent, can you quickly unmute and ask?
I thought you were taking two questions.
No, yes, two, but I think I will have to do this because that's
fine. One more.
Besides, she's the first person to join this conversation this evening. I will oblige her that. Come on, go ahead.
All right.
Vincent.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Sowore.
Good evening.
I must commend your energy and courage. You don't fear them, and it's a good one. It motivates a lot of young Nigerians to be like you someday. But a lot of people have accused you of many different things at different times. And one of them is the fact that you blackmail people. That's quite difficult to believe, but looking at what has happened so far about that, I'm not alleging blackmail anyway, but looking at what has happened, it seems you do store debts on people. Example, on this Onoja story, this Onoja story didn't come up before now. You had to wait until you had issues with him before the story came up. You know, as though you just store something, you have something on everybody and you're waiting for the right time to, blow it up. How true is that?
Thank you very much for that question. So the
all right.
I wanted
last question. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted you to respond all of them at once. Timmy, can you quickly unmute?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Sowore, for your time and everything. And I really appreciate you a lot. Like, presently, as we all know that the population of Nigeria is well over 200 million, and that is by the total estimate of what was given to us. And I can't remember the last time that population census was carried out in Nigeria. And now, when we add other people that are not even in the picture, we should be going to like 300 M. So what I want to ask is, even if there is a revolution today, how are we sure that those people who are still in the remote areas, who are still in hidden places, how are we sure that they are going to be carried along and they are going to be treated as one Nigeria? And again, I want to ask, why, because I've been following the crisis in AAC, why can't you start your own party, as in create your own political party? That's my question.
Thank you very much, Timmy. So then, over to you.
Thank you. Quick questions. One is that why can you carry people in the rural areas or remote areas along with the revolution? They are already demanding for revolution. Those are the people who actually need the revolution because they are the dead poor. They're the ones who have no access to drinkable water, education, hospitals, and all the good things of life. If you go to the city, there's a little bit of semblance of availability of those things. So honestly, you don't need to carry them along. You just have to blow the whistle. They are more desperate than most of us who are based in the city. With regards to AAC, you asked, why don't I go set up my own party? You don't run away from challenges because people, just change you. And I've never done that. I was expelled twice from the university. I could have gone to write JAMB again and go to another university. I refused until I finished from the same University of Lagos, because that's where I wanted to graduate at. And I stayed there until I graduated. Somebody was raising the issue of blackmail. And what I did was to just type blackmail into Google. And it's a noun and a verb. It says an action treated as a criminal offense of demanding payment or another benefit from someone in return for not revealing compromising or damaging information about them. I've never done that with anybody. If I've done, they would have come out in my 14 years of running Sahara Reporters, even though I don't run Sahara Reporters directly anymore. The verb of it is to demand money or another benefit from someone in return for not revealing compromising information or damaging information about them. I will reveal information about you because we don't want to demand for any favor in return for it. And then they're talking about the Kogi state governor. It's like, why are you now revealing his corruption cases? Even though I wasn't the one who did it, but there's no status of limitation to reveal corruption cases. In the US, anytime somebody is, very visible, if they can find something on him to show to the public that he's not who he is, they'll put it out there. And you don't ask them, why did you wait? If you kill somebody 10 years ago and we find out 10 years later, should it mean that we should cover it up because it's 10 years ago? No. And they are public officials. They have to be held to account from time to time. Anytime you want, you can do that. Again, I'm not working at Sahara Reporters these days. I've not done that since 2018. But I know that Sahara does its work as it's called upon to do it instantaneously. And people who feel that these things are not true, they have recourse to either respond to it or go to court. And I tell you, I've been sued quite a lot of times, including threats of lawsuits. I was recently threatened by the daughter of President Buhari because of his story that was carried about custom corruption. We're caught. There's a pastor, MFM. He took me to court in America. We're in court. I don't say to them that, oh, you can't sue me because the story was late. So even though they know that I'm not the one who wrote the story, but I'm their target. So the last person was saying, what is the future? What do you want to do? I'm very clear. Revolution, revolution, and revolution now. I hope I covered all the grounds, man.
Thank you very much.
Or at least I tried.
Thank you very much. That's a very fine place to leave it. Mr. Omoyele Sowore, thank you for being part of this conversation. And many of you watching us on our various social media handle, thank you for joining this conversation this evening. It has been a pleasure to have Sowore speak to us for close to 2 hours now. It's unbelievable how time flies. Sowore, thank you once more. And hopefully the dream of having a revolution in Nigeria would probably materialize one day, that the poor might begin to have succor. On that note, I will say